have I found the perfect pattern for advents, minis, and scraps? Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Karchermakes. I'm Andrea. This is where we like to talk about all things crafty. I'm a serial crafter coming to you from South Central Pennsylvania. And today I have an exciting topic to talk about, and that's finding the perfect project. So before we talk about what project I found that I think meets this criteria, let's talk about what makes a perfect project. So first and foremost, perfection does not exist in real life, right? It's a hyperbole. I'm exaggerating. I've been known to do that. But it's something that meets all the needs that I'm looking for in a craft and a project and something that I'm making. And before we really talk about what that is, we have to kind of first talk about the criteria. So I have a couple areas that I really look for in a project. You may have different areas based on your level of skill, based on your experience, based on what you like, what you prefer, what your aesthetic is. So this is just my opinion. You will have your own. And if you don't mind, share those in the comments below. I would love to hear what your unicorn project is really about. So for me, I kind of think about it in three different ways. First thing being materials. Do I have what I need to make this project? Do I have the yarn? Do I have the right amount of yarn? Do I have the right weight of yarn? Do I have the needles? Do I have all the notions that I need? And we're putting emphasis on the word need here because we always want new things. I always want new stitch markers. I always like to experiment with new needles. But really, do I have the absolute basis of what I need to make this project? So that's number one. Number two is practicality. Am I really going to use this? Am I really going to wear it? If I'm kind of on the fence, then it's not perfect. It might be something that I make, but it's not perfect. And the third thing is really about the pattern itself. And there's a lot that kind of goes into this for me. So first off, it needs to be easy to understand. I prefer patterns that have like the little glossary of stitches because I can't remember what K2PSSO means all the time. So if there's a little glossary and abbreviation section, I love that. It makes it easy for me not to have to go look that up somewhere else. The second thing is wherever I buy the pattern, whether it's on Ravelry or Etsy, does that information have what I need to make this pattern, going back to step one, materials? I don't want to have to buy the pattern to find out I don't have enough yardage for it. So I like to see those things explicitly stated in the sales page, if you will. The kind of last thing here is, okay, and this is me being picky. I have a bachelor's degree in graphic design, so not everybody cares about this, but I don't like any weird fonts in the pattern, and I know that that is picky, but like I don't like weird fonts, I don't like weird color background. Please don't use like blue Comic Sans font on a pink background. That's not for me. I'm probably not going to make this pattern, or if I do, I'm gonna have to convert the whole thing, and that's not perfection to me. Perfection is it has all those things that I want. The next part of what makes a perfect pattern, and again for me, is it size inclusive? So I personally prefer, like if I'm making a sweater, for example, I prefer a bust size of 44 to 45 inches. It really depends on the style and the construction as far as like how tight or how much ease that I want in it. But if I see a pattern and it's only going up to 50 inches, which is barely bigger than me, no, that's not perfection. That's not even acceptable. But I really look for patterns that are inclusive to, larger and smaller sizes both. The kind of last piece of this is, how customizable is it? Can I change up the color pattern? Can I change the yarn size or weight? Can I maybe put the colors in a different way to make it look different? Can I do different sleeve lengths? Does it look good if it's a short sleeve and a long sleeve, or maybe it only looks good as a short sleeve? These are all kind of the things that I think about when I think about what is a perfect pattern for me to make. Now, all that to say, I think I found the perfect Scrappy pattern, and I cast it on New Year's Day, and I am loving it. So the pattern that I'm making is the End Times Cardigan by Amy Young Gunderson, and I talked a little bit about this in my last video if you want to take a look at that. This pattern is probably as close to perfection, based on my definition that we just talked about, as I can get. It has everything that I need. Do I have the materials? Yes. Yes, I do. Is it well written? Yes. And it even comes with an added like tutorial section. It's not even a section, it's a separate document, but it has a PDF of like a pictures tutorial explaining how to do the techniques. I will absolutely wear this. It is totally my aesthetic as far as like the colors and the pattern, and I love Scrappy anything, so love that. And kind of the last piece is, it is a well-written pattern. There's a stitch glossary. It goes up to size 6X, which I think is a 76 bust according to the pattern, which is great. And the nice part about this pattern, and I don't want to give away too much because it is a paid pattern, but the way in which it's constructed, it really allows for a lot of customization. You could make it significantly smaller or significantly larger if you wanted to. You can make it longer, you can make it shorter. It can be cropped, it can be long sleeve, it can be short sleeve. Like, it is so customizable, and it really allows you to put some creativity in it. Yeah, sometimes we like a pattern that tells us just exactly what to do and it has to look like this or it's not gonna work, but I kind of like being creative about things. Kind of the other piece of it is you can really experiment with how the colors are laid out. So let me just show you my progress on it, and then we'll talk a little bit more about that piece. So here is where I am at with this. So this is, I started with the back piece. So again, I don't want to give away too much, but the way in which you construct it, you're making these 2-color half square triangles. I did confirm that's the right way to say it. Half square triangles, and it is intarsia. Now, where you start in the pattern really doesn't matter. Each square type, very similar to the Cozy Memories blanket that everybody loves, each square type has a different pickup depending on where you're at. So I just started with the back right. Now, I chose to actually follow the pattern and not customize this piece of it, but I chose to do the light and dark method for the color management. Now, that said, and I'm going to insert some footage here, because these are half square triangles, you can really take a look online at quilting patterns for half square triangles, and the way in which you lay out the colors, whether you're doing light and dark, or maybe you just want it to be monochromatic, or maybe you want it to be checkerboard style, whatever, it all works. But if you take a look at the examples I'm showing here of quilts that use half square triangles, depending on how you manage your color placement, you could make stars, you could make pinwheels, you could make, again, checkerboards, or like a circular type situation with the pattern. So really, like, it's limitless on how you can customize this cardigan and have it be exactly what you want it to be. I'll just give you a little close up here. So yeah, this is so customizable. And again, I'm just following the standard pattern. All that to say, I'm still following the standard pattern, and I'm just doing light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. Which I thought about doing this in DK weight. So I have, as you can see, a lot of scraps of fingering weight, sock yarn, minis, scraps, advents, all of it. So I thought about doing this in a DK weight. Now, I did make swatches, which I never do. And again, this is fingering weight held double. And just to show you some examples of what you could possibly do with this pattern. Obviously, if you go heavier weight with your squares, you're gonna need less of them. So kind of keep that in mind. But I made this one with, again, I held fingering weight double, and this is with a US 5 versus this one, which is a mess with the ends, fingering weight held double with US 7. And could this work? Yes, absolutely, it can work. I just really liked the fingering weight version better. Now, this was a bit of a process learning how to do the intarsia. And that's kind of another thing too. I like to be challenged. I don't want it to be so hard I can't understand it, but I do like learning new things, and I like the challenge. So these are intarsia, which I feel like is very controversial in the knitting community. People are like, oh my gosh, it's intarsia, I don't want to do it. But because one, it's so small, like these, each square at my gauge is about 1 3/4 inches. So it's so small, and you're doing so few rows that the intarsia, although it was very fiddly for me at first, like by the time I got through like the first couple of squares, it's no big deal anymore. No big deal anymore. And it goes this way. No big deal. Like, I just keep on keeping on. And yeah. So don't let it, don't be deterred because it says intarsia is my point. And honestly, because these are just mitered squares at the end of the day, you don't even have to do the half square triangle. You could do just a full mitered square triangle and then do like a checkerboard pattern. You could do color blocking, like whatever, right? Whatever. It's your knitting and you're the boss of it. The pattern is just a suggestion. That's my opinion. So yeah, this is the End Times cardigan. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the color selection. So at first I was like, you know, I'm just gonna randomly pick maybe a light, and then of course I need a dark, right? Boom, there we go, a light and a dark. However, as I started going through the yarn that I have that I wanted to put into this, so the yarn I'm putting into this is the 2023 Fangirl Fibers Toy Story Advent, the 2023 Polka Dot Creek Canadian Dyers Christmas Vacation Advent. I ended up pulling out an old Advent from 2021, maybe, that's Teeny Button Studios, which had a lot of solids in it, because between the two Advents that I got this year, there weren't a lot of solids. So I pulled that one out to be able to kind of complement with a lot of the solids. And then once I got started, I realized that I didn't have like a good distribution of lights to darks. So then I just started pulling scraps, and this is how I keep my scraps. If you guys want a video just on how I manage scraps, let me know in the comments and I can gladly do that. But this is the scraps of the scraps of the scraps. The ball jars are the last kind of stop for my scraps. And I found it to be useful, and it's pretty too. So there's that. So when trying to determine lights versus darks, and I'm gonna add some things here, and this is not revolutionary. I didn't invent this. Like, this is something I learned 30 years ago in school. But if you take a picture of the colors, and I'm just gonna pull some random colors here and insert a photo. If you take a picture of it and then you go into your like edit settings on your camera or your phone or whatever you're taking the picture on, right? And you turn the saturation all the way down to make it black and white, or you can apply a black and white filter, that works too. But if you do that, you can really see the value and how it changes from color to color. And for this project, because I'm doing, you know, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, that's become important to me. I do want to kind of maintain that level of value symmetry, if you will. So I've been doing that as I'm kind of going along and picking my next round of colors. And all I do is I kind of wind these 4 at a time, and I just take a quick picture of my phone, I desaturate it, and if they look like a light and a dark, then great. And the reason why is because it can be very sort of hard when you have, and I'll give you a couple examples here, when you have like these medium value tones, depending on what you put next to it, it can read dark or light. And hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully the pictures that I'm, you know, including here help that. But you don't have to do light and dark for your cardigan. You could just do it all dark. You could do it all light. You could just do it completely random. It's yours. You're the boss of your knitting. Make it what you want. I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe you learned a thing or two. That's always my goal, is to just kind of share what I'm doing, and then hopefully you learn something from it. If you liked this video, give it a like. Feel free to subscribe. Join us here. I'm going to try to do a little bit more regular posting now that the craziness of the holidays is over. I do have some good ideas on, well, I think they're good ideas on some upcoming videos. And of course, all the progress on all the things that I'm making, including the Zen Times cardigan. So hope to see you soon. Bye. Happy making.